You open the chat, you scroll up, and you notice something you wish you hadn't. The last 4 conversations all start with your name on the left side. Every single one. Monday's check-in. Last Thursday's link. The birthday follow-up. The random Tuesday. How are you? 4 threads. 4 initiations. All yours. Something in you goes still. Not anger. Not even sadness. Exactly. Just this low-grade fatigue you can't quite name, like you've been carrying something you only just realized was heavy. Everyone will tell you they're just busy. That some people aren't texters. That it doesn't mean anything. But by the end of this video, you'll understand what's actually operating underneath, and it has nothing to do with their schedule. And the last pattern I'll show you, that one will change what you do the next time your finger hovers over their name. You've probably defended them. Maybe more than once. They're not great with phones. They've got a lot going on right now. That's just how they are. And for a while you probably believed it. Because the alternative, that someone you care about has decided not to reach for you, sits in a place most people would rather not look. But here's where the excuse starts to crack. Think of it like a door that only swings one direction. They'll walk through it every time you open it. Warm, friendly, engaged even. But they will never be the one to push it from their side. Not because they can't find the handle, because they've learned they don't have to. Your brain registers this kind of inconsistency the same way it processes a slot machine. Just enough warmth to keep you reaching, just enough reply to make you question whether there's actually a problem. Psychologists call this intermittent reinforcement, the same mechanism behind every addictive loop you've ever been caught in. You're not needy for noticing. You're awake. So let me show you what's actually underneath this. Layer by layer. You text your friend on a Wednesday. Something small, a meme, maybe, or a, "You good?" They reply within the hour. Warm, maybe even funny. You go back and forth for a bit, and by the end, you feel fine, connected, like nothing's wrong. Then, 2 weeks pass, nothing from them. You open the chat again, scroll up. And there it is, the pattern you weren't looking for but can't unsee now. Every thread in your conversation history starts with you. 6 months of messages, and they have never once been the first name on the screen. They don't ignore you. That's what makes this so hard to name. When you show up, they meet you. They match your energy. They laugh at the right moments. But they never arrive first. Not once. And somewhere in you, you've known that for longer than you've admitted. A quiet weight you keep picking up and setting down. This isn't forgetting, it's positioning. They've settled into the exact spot in your friendship where they receive everything: your attention, your effort, your emotional initiation, while investing almost nothing to keep it going. And the thing that makes this invisible is how warm they are when they respond. That warmth isn't fake, but it's not costly either. Replying is easy. Initiating requires something different. It means choosing you when there's no prompt, no notification, no reason except that you crossed their mind and they acted on it. That's the part they've quietly opted out of. You weren't imagining it. But that's what it looks like on the surface. What comes next is the part you'll think about at 2 a.m. tonight. Silence is a position. Let that land for a second. Because when someone you're interested in, someone you've been building something with, never reaches out first, their silence isn't passive, it's structural. It tells you exactly where they've chosen to stand in the dynamic between you. Think about the last person who made your chest tighten when your phone lit up. You'd text them and they'd respond, sometimes fast, sometimes slow, but always enough. Enough to keep the thread alive, enough to keep you leaning forward. But you opened every exchange. You wrote every first line. You created every reason for the conversation to exist. And what did that arrangement give them? Certainty. Your consistent initiation told them exactly how invested you were every day, without them ever having to wonder, and without them ever having to show their hand first. They got the warmth of being wanted without the vulnerability of wanting. There's a concept in social dynamics called low-cost dominance. Control that requires zero effort, no manipulation, no cruelty. Just a position, one where everything flows toward you and you never have to reach. That doubt you felt wasn't insecurity, it was data. You weren't desperate for texting them. You were investing in someone who'd arrange the entire dynamic so they'd never have to invest first. Now ask yourself something harder. Because the pattern you just recognized, it's doing something to you that runs deeper than frustration. Think about your family for a second. Not the texting, the showing up. You're the one who calls on Sundays. You're the one who drives the hour and a half for dinner. You're the one who remembers to ask how the appointment went, who follows up after the hard week, who keeps the thread of connection stitched together month after month. And when you get there, it's fine. Warm. Even. Nobody's cold. Nobody shuts you out. They're happy you came. But when's the last time they came to you? Something in your motivation just dims a little. Not all at once. It happens so slowly you barely register it across months, across years. You stop feeling like someone who's loved and start feeling like someone who's convenient. Someone whose effort has been so consistent that everyone around you has stopped noticing it. Because it's not special anymore. It's just what you do. It's your role now. You never auditioned for it, you were cast by default, because you were the only one who kept showing up. That slow deflation. Not dramatic, just tired. And here's what nobody says out loud. The person who always initiates doesn't just carry the labor. They carry the doubt. Every unreturned effort becomes a quiet question you learn to swallow. Do they even want me here, or do I just keep arriving? That tiredness was information. This next layer is the one that makes people go quiet in the comments. Because this part isn't about what they do, it's about what your behavior is handing them. Watch what happens when someone never texts first. You text more. You try harder. You fill the gap with effort because some part of you reads their silence as a problem you're supposed to solve. You feel it in the moment right before you type that half second, where your thumb hovers and something in you hesitates, almost doesn't, and then does anyway. Every time you double text, reinitiate, keep the group chat moving, ping your coworker just to stay connected, you hand them one crucial piece of information, your threshold. They learn exactly how long you'll wait before you break, how much silence you'll absorb before reaching out again, how many unanswered initiations it takes before you finally say something. They don't track this consciously. But the dynamic does the math for them. You've seen this at work. There's always one person who never suggests the lunch plan but always shows up for it. Never proposes the Friday hangout but walks in smiling when someone else organizes it. They've learned that somebody almost certainly you will always carry the social weight. And your consistency has become their guarantee. There's a term that fits this perfectly, and once you hear it, you'll see it everywhere. Effort asymmetry. One person initiates, the other participates. One person builds the bridge, the other walks across it when it suits them. And because you keep building, they never once have to wonder whether the bridge will be there. You weren't asking for too much. You were asking for the bare minimum. Everything before this was context. This final layer is the reason this video exists. People who never text first don't just avoid starting conversations. They avoid going first at anything. You've seen this. They don't suggest the restaurant. They don't pick the movie. They don't bring up the difficult conversation. They don't say, "I miss you," before you do. They don't commit to the plan until you've committed twice. This isn't laziness. This is insulation. Because whoever goes first is the one who can be refused. Whoever reaches out is the one who reveals need. And the person who never initiates has built an entire relational identity around never being the one left standing with their hand out, waiting to see if someone takes it. Your willingness to go first, to text, to call, to show up, to care out loud, that isn't desperation. It is the single most vulnerable position a person can hold in any relationship. And you've been holding it so long you forgot it was brave. The person who never texts first didn't forget you. They're not too busy. They made a decision, probably one they'd never say out loud, that being wanted is safer than wanting. That receiving is easier than reaching. That waiting is less dangerous than risking. And you kept reaching. Remember the first pattern, how they always reply but never begin? This last layer explains why they built the entire dynamic that way. Not out of cruelty, out of protection. They've arranged every relationship in their life so they never have to be the one who goes first and gets silence back. And the price of that safety is paid by people like you. But this isn't a story about good people and bad people. It's about a dynamic that feeds itself, and you can only break it once you see both sides clearly. Every time you texted first and got just enough warmth to feel okay, you taught them their strategy works. Not because you're weak, because you cared more than you calculated. Your instinct was connection. Theirs was positioning. And the gap between those two instincts is where the whole imbalance lives. They're not evil, they're guarded. They found a way to have relationships without ever being the most vulnerable person in them. And you found a way to keep showing up even when the math stopped making sense. But here's what changes once you see the full pattern. You stop confusing their silence with your rejection. You stop rushing to fill every gap they leave. You stop performing your investment for someone who never auditions for yours. And you find out something you've been quietly afraid to test: who shows up when you stop being the one who always goes first. That's not abandonment, that's clarity. If you recognize someone in this video, and I think you did, tell me which layer finally put it into words. I read every comment. Subscribe if you're new here. Every video on this channel decodes what most people spend years excusing away. Stop texting first. See who stays.